This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 3rd day of July in the year 2019. Here's what we're tracking tonight. The top spot for the 2019 National Grade 6 Assessment Examinations is being shared by two students of the public school system. The two students, Dave Chowty of Graham's Hall Primary and Venetia Lal of CV Noons Primary, both gained 532 marks out of a possible 536 to snatch the top spot. Both students expressed surprise at topping the country, but explained to the media that their performance is as a result of hard work and determination.
I'm very grateful to my teacher and my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who gave me the wisdom and guidance to pursue this, and my family, who supported me, both my parents. And hard studying, hard work pays off. That's right. Grade 5, we did all the writing and all the paperwork stuff. And then we, in grade 6, all we did was revision and work in past papers and different textbooks, and anything that was like hard for me, I would like go on the internet and research.
I really wanted the minister to go to Esquivel, and I wanted to prove that no matter if you come from a public school or a private school, you can still do it. And it wasn't hard. We started in grade 4, revising, and our teachers helping us the lessons. So it wasn't a big deal. Well, I got support from Ganapati Baka. I got support from my parents, my grandparents, my mom, my sisters, my brothers.
The results were announced this morning by the Minister of Education, Nicolette Henry. The minister reported improved performances in mathematics, while the other three subject areas saw small declines in the overall pass rate when compared to the previous year. Minister Henry said all of the nation's children ought to be congratulated. She noted that she was pleased that more public school students have broken into the top 1% bracket, which is usually dominated by students from private schools.
Looking at the first 1%, we have 40-something students from the public schools, 40-something students from the public schools who were able to be in the top 1%. That certainly is an improvement from what we've seen in the recent past, and certainly with this year's top 10 students performance, we were able to get students in the public school. To be specific, we were able to get 3. I think it's a good start, and those are the numbers that so far, when we have disaggregated the data, we have recognized those, and I thought that they ought to be highlighted.
The minister said while mathematics has seen an increase in the performance rate of 42% compared to 38% last year, she remains confident that the score will continue to climb for the subject as the government continues to invest in the education sector, with specific interest being given to mathematics.
It is something that over long-term periods, that is when you can truly measure successes. And that is why I compared just the previous year, because I can only give you so much information at any given time. And obviously, you may very well be aware that in 2017, the government of Guyana initiated what we call an emergency response to mathematics. So if you have an intervention for a particular subject area, you would expect that given the amount of resources, both human, financial, and other resources, that you will see improvement. Of course, we were encouraged to have that intervention based on performance.
The overall English language pass rate stood at 57.4%, which is a decline from 60.6% last year. 42.4% of the students gained 50% or more in science, and social studies saw a 7% decline from 46.1% last year to 39% this year. 14,200 students wrote the examination back in April, and according to the Chief Education Officer Marcel Hudson, the improvement in overall results is not something that could happen overnight.
You know, Gordon, when I saw that, I've actually called several teachers in the different subject areas, particularly social studies, And some of them mentioned the same thing that you were saying. They said, sorry, you know what? Our focus may have been heavily on the particular area because we know we've not been doing so well over the years in mathematics. We started to do that from 2016. We saw improvement in the performance. And so we have to be very careful, and it's a good point because sometimes you look at the areas that you think that you're weak in and you do that at the expense of other subject areas. So some of our teachers did say that.
Mr. Hudson also explained that there is now an effort to rework and make changes to the curriculum for the primary schools, as there have not been changes since 1976.
The reform process, teachers are integrally involved in the reform process. As a matter of fact, they're the ones who are writing the curriculum, and so we need to, this is not something that has fallen out of the sky where somebody from somewhere they're writing for us. It is our teachers who are using their experiences, they're using all that they would have known over the years to put the information that will be critical to the transformation that we're talking about in that process. So our teachers are involved. As I said, they're writing. Some of them are part of the coordinating team, and subsequently we will see more involvement. In terms of where we're at now, I think we're about in September to pilot the first phase. It has to be done in a phase way.
The full results have been released online, and the examination slips have been sent to all the primary schools for distribution to the parents. More news is coming up in just a moment.
Opt into GTT's Do More plan this summer and receive double the credit on your first monthly top-up of $1,000 or more. Double it up, Guyana! Get 2 times your data when you opt into the Do More plan. Yes! Double the credit and double the data means double the fun. Get a chance to win daily cash prizes and much more, plus a chance to win the grand prize of $100,000 in cash. What are you waiting for? Opt in today for a chance to win big and do more this summer.
Summer is just around the corner, and this year we're giving you a Visacation. It's easy. Get your GBTI Visa card and travel to your dream summer destinations or shop all you want online. With Visacation, you get to win prizes when you use your GBTI Visa card between June 1st and August 31st. Don't have a Visa card? Visit your nearest GBTI branch or go to www.gbtibank.com. GBTI, we see Guyana through your eyes.
Motor gasoline grades are determined by the octane rating of the fuel. The octane rating of a fuel is the standard measure of the performance of a motor gasoline. Guy Oil's Super 95 gasoline is a high-octane premium gasoline. Fuel up and drive with Super 95 from Guy Oil.
Welcome back. Guyana Goldfields has announced that it has temporarily suspended its operations at its Aurora mine site as workers continue the protest today by staying away from the job. In a statement, the company said a portion of the workforce blocked delivery of ore to the mill, and that triggered the decision to halt operations and evacuate all non-essential workers from this site. The company said it believes the stoppage was the result of a misunderstanding concerning the management and relationship between Aurora Gold Mines and certain open-pit mining contractors. It said AGM has been examining options to improve mining operations and performance in order to ensure Aurora's long-term future, but no decisions have been made concerning any possible changes to the mining operation at this time. Guyana Goldfields said it is actively working along with its employees and adhering to applicable laws and regulations, and it facilitating communication with the relevant governmental agencies to understand and address employees' concerns and to resolve the matter as quickly as possible. The company said it is also making arrangements to have the striking workers meet with representatives of the Department of Labor to mediate the dispute. Scores of the workers were flown out to the city today as the company halted the operations. News Source was contacted by some of the workers after they arrived in Georgetown, and they agreed to speak to us once their identities would not be revealed. One worker explained that following the decision yesterday by more than 100 workers to stay off the job, the internet service that's provided by the company was discontinued, and many of them could not make contact with their family. The worker explained that in addition to the internet service being disrupted, those workers who stayed off the job were only provided with one meal last evening. The workers started their protest action yesterday to press the company to allow them to be unionized. They also want the company to address other concerns. Some of the workers have indicated that they want to be represented by the National Mine Workers Union, but representatives of the union have not been able to visit the mining location to meet with the workers. The president of the union, Sherwin Downer, told News Source that he has since contacted the chief labor officer on the concerns of the workers. Guyana Goldfields is a Canadian company which conducts gold mining operations in the Aurora area in Region 7. Over 700 Guyanese are in the company's employ. Municipal news to report right now. With a number of communities flooded as a result of overnight heavy rainfall, Mayor Ubraj Narayan pleaded with citizens today to stop the dumping of garbage in the city's drainage system. The mayor was joined by the Junior Minister of Public Infrastructure, the town clerk, and a number of city councillors in a walk around the city this morning as parts of the city woke up to flood waters. It was explained that all of the city's pumps are working, but the sluices had to remain closed for a number of hours as the high tide was in effect when the heavy rains came. Once the tide went down, the sluices were reopened. Mayor Narayan complained that workers of the council were forced to clear several blockages to the pump system as plastic bottles and other waste products made their way through the system.
And what we experienced for the past few days, and in fact today, that the pumps and the sluice where they have pile of garbage, old chairs, old cloths, plastic bags, plastic bottles, and all these things can pile up there. So it causes a effect, a heavy effect on the pumps when pumping the water.
City engineer Calvin Ventura explained that the city of Georgetown has become more populated and is now larger, and the original drainage system may not have catered for those changes and the amount of rainfall that was experienced overnight. Some areas reportedly experienced over 3 inches of rainfall.
Based on the records or the information that we would have received from Hydromet, the record that they would have had is the recorded 3 inches of rainfall. The original design of the city did not cater for so many inches of rainfall, right? We looked at about 2 inches of rainfall, but taking into consideration we have siltation in a lot of the drainage network and so forth, that 2 inches of rainfall in which the city was designed for, that would have reduced significantly. And that would have resulted in a lot of areas being inundated.
Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Jaipal Sharma, said the government was also looking to address several concerns within the city.
What we could do is to alleviate the situation by having these drains desilted and weeds removed. This particular area, like we are in here, Guildhouse Square, and pretty many past 10 years, residents facing the situation with the heavy rainfall. Whenever there's heavy rainfall, this situation is on them. And residents themselves had found a solution, and their solution was that they raise the floors, they raise the level of the height of the yard, and but these are expensive things that they have to go in their pockets and to do. This particular area, Guildhouse Square, like many other areas in the Rumfield, east, west, north, south, it's like a pond. The roads around it are very high. The main access road, very high. The internal road network, the roads are very low. So we have a pond situation here.
A check around Georgetown this afternoon revealed the floodwater receding. But with the weatherman predicting more overnight rainfall, the floodwaters might very well return. On the police blotter right now, police investigators in Madia are probing the death of a 26-year-old nurse from Linden, whose lifeless body was found in the hostel where she stayed at Madia. The young woman has been identified as Shanice Apple. Her body was discovered last evening, leaving family members and the nursing fraternity at Linden and Madia in shock. Apple was last seen the night before when she wrapped up her shift at the Madia hospital and left for the hostel where she stayed when working in the mining community. She was expected back at work yesterday afternoon. When she did not show up for her shift, an alarm was raised and the hostel was visited, and it was then that her body was discovered. Investigators were immediately contacted. The investigation is ongoing tonight. In the courts right now, after listening to submissions from both sides, Justice Fidela Corbin today disallowed an application by the Balwant Singh Hospital for an injunction to be granted against businesswoman and social media star Melissa Atwell, also known as Melly Mel. The hospital wanted the court to grant the injunction to prevent Ms. Atwell from making further posts on social media about the experiences of some former patients of the hospital. The hospital has filed a $10 million lawsuit against Atwell over the Facebook post. While the lawsuit will go on, the judge today ruled that the hospital did not prove that the statements shared on social media were true or untrue, and therefore she could not allow the injunction. The hospital also wanted the court to order the social media activist to remove the horror testimonials that she shared on her social media page from alleged dissatisfied patients. The court also denied that request. The hospital has been arguing that the Facebook posts and comments that followed have caused it financial loss, and that was behind its decision to file the lawsuit. But attorneys for the businesswoman have argued that the move to the court by the hospital was a clear attempt to silence free speech. The attorneys in their submissions to the court have explained that Atwell was sharing the experiences of former patients, and although the hospital was privately owned, it was providing a public service. They contend that she shared the experiences because she believes the public has a right to know of the experiences of others. Over in the magistrate's court, a 23-year-old man from Ling Avenue here in Georgetown, who claimed that he robbed persons so that he could provide for his young daughter, has been sentenced to 2 years in jail. The man Oswald Cumberbatch appeared in court this morning and admitted that on the 2nd of July he robbed Al-Ansar Abdul of his cell phone and $2,000 in cash. The court was told that the victim was on his way to catch a minibus when he was attacked and robbed by Cumberbatch, who shoved him to the ground in the process. However, the victim raised an alarm and managed to chase after and catch the robber, who was promptly handed over to the police. In court this morning, the accused pleaded guilty and begged the court for mercy, explaining that he's the father of a young child and wanted to provide for her. The magistrate did not buy his excuse and sentenced him to 2 years in jail, while telling him that he should never allow temptations to guide his decisions. And yesterday, a 14-year-old boy from Matthews Ridge Northwest District was remanded to the Juvenile Detention Center after being charged with the murder of his schoolmate. The teenager appeared in court yesterday and was charged with the June 27 murder of Joseph Bunbury. According to reports, the accused was at a shop with a relative in the community when Bunbury approached him over a disagreement, and the two got into a fist fight. An older relative who was in the shop at the time parted the two teenagers, but moments later the accused armed himself with a knife and repeatedly stabbed the teen who was the aggressor. It is alleged that the accused ran from the scene, but he was eventually arrested and charged. He will make his next court appearance later this month. Across the Region is coming up next.
Falls, a trademark of China's Zhanghao Incorporated, located at Land of Cane and East Bank Demerara, was incorporated in April of 2013 with over $10 billion Guyana dollars invested in a state-of-the-art 100,000 barrel fuel storage facility, a modern service station, an office complex, and a modern wharf that can berth international vessels. Having no association with any other fuel company, Falls imports its own fuel, which meets quality specifications, has all the legal permits, and is in compliance with international requirements. Its bulk facility can load 8 trucks simultaneously at a rate of 1,000 liters per minute, while the service station can service 12 cars at a time using computerized fuel pumps, which can facilitate the use of ATM cards. Through its professional team of mostly Guyanese, Falls wholesales and retails fuels to the public, including farmers and miners, and will continue to positively contribute to Guyana by providing quality products, service, and attractive prices. Try Falls today for all your fuel needs.
What would you do with 20 gigs of data? Get double the data this summer with GTT. On your first activation of a 7-day data plan or more, you get double the data. Yup, double the data. Activate and enjoy. Opt into a Do More plan this summer and receive double the data. Get a chance to win daily cash prizes and much more, plus a chance to win the grand prize of $100,000 in cash. Only with GTT, there's so much more data to love. Do more this summer.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Across the region right now in nearby Venezuela, the country's President Nicolas Maduro has indicated that he was committed to talks with the opposition to resolve a political crisis. Hours after the opposition leader Juan Guaido said there would never be a good time to negotiate with a dictatorship. Guaido and Maduro had both sent representatives to Oslo back in May for discussions that Norway's government had encouraged, but they were unable to reach any agreement. On Saturday, people familiar with the negotiations told the Reuters news agency that talks would restart this week. But yesterday, Mr. Guaido said there had been no official statement that they would attend a new round of dialogue. Few details have been released about the talks in Oslo between the representatives of Mr. Maduro and Mr. Guaido, who invoked Venezuela's constitution to assume a rival presidency back in January, denouncing Maduro's May 2018 re-election as illegitimate. In Costa Rica, the country's education minister Edgar Mora resigned yesterday following protests against policies including his support for gender-neutral bathrooms, in a sign that the cultural issues that dominated last year's presidential election remain divisive. Protesters included members of the Pentecostal Christian-aligned opposition party, as well as transportation and education groups. They criticized the education minister on multiple fronts, including his proposal to allow transgender students to use the bathroom according to the gender with which they identify. The 2018 election cycle was marked by clashes between Pentecostal Christian candidate Fabricio Alvaro Munoz over his criticism of same-sex marriage and what he called gender ideology, and he said it was promoted by the center-left ruling party. Although the center-left candidate prevailed with the election of President Carlos Alvaro Quisera, nearly 40% of the final vote went to its conservative opponent. Costa Rica is famed for its laid-back way of life and progressive environmental policies, but it is also known as a bastion of traditional Catholic values, with a fast-growing evangelical community. The former minister identified himself as an atheist. And finally tonight, international news. A volcano has erupted on the Italian island of Stromboli, killing one person and covering the island in ash. The victim, reportedly a tourist, was killed by a falling stone, a rescue service official told the Reuters news agency. A second person was injured. Firefighters were tackling blazes caused by the eruption. Holidaymakers were reported to have run into the sea after seeing ash rising from the volcano. The island is a popular location for holiday homes of the rich and famous. Stromboli is known as the lighthouse of the Mediterranean. Its volcano is one of the most active on the planet and has been under an almost constant state of eruption since 1932. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.